Hello everybody, and today I'm going to be doing a review for Dr. Stone. The anime is basically about a guy who, like the rest of humanity, was turned to stone, and it's his job to rebuild civilization and basically fix everything. I always remember liking Dr. Stone even from the very beginning because I always like the start from zero and then build up sort of storyline, so I always liked the idea of Dr. Stone. I thought they executed it pretty well. The animation's pretty decent for what I saw from the anime, and the character designs are pretty good, and I always like how they drew the eyes in the manga. Dr. Stone has a very large cast, so it's pretty good how they get all their characters to sort of have their own screen time, but usually because there's so many of them, they usually only get one or two moments to themselves, unless they're like really main characters because there's just so many of them. But they do try to give them all their time to shine, although it does feel like some characters are a little bit underutilized. I love Senku's sort of twist, on being a main character, because usually shonen main characters are strong and dumb. That's their sort of MO. They're all brawn and no brains. But Senku is actually smart, and he tries to solve problems with his brains. Dr. Stone is sort of like a smart person anime for dumb people because it has a lot of information in it, but it breaks it down in a way that anyone can understand. So you don't have to be actually knowledgeable about the topic to be able to understand what they're talking about. Senku's more of a grounded MC, he's all about science and logic and whether something can be done or not, and using his smarts to get around issues. But I find it funny how, since he's the scientific one, he should be more grounded in reality, that he's got one of the most insane goals out of many of the main characters in any of the shows I've ever watched, considering his goal is to rebuild the entirety of the civilization from zero back to where it was. Also, I'm not going to spoil the ending because the anime hasn't even ended yet, but the ending was crazy, which I feel like it sort of fit, but it was also sort of insane, but, funny, and it felt sort of fitting for the way the show went. I would recommend Dr. Stone. I think it's still going on. I think it just recently started its second season, or it's about to start its second season. Andrew Say is one of my favorite characters, and it's so crazy reading the manga and then realizing that the anime hasn't even introduced him yet when he becomes such a large part of the story. It's just crazy to think that the story ever functioned without him. He's just that type of character. It's just crazy to think that the story could actually function without him in it. And that goes back to one of my past points that Dr. Stone does a pretty good job at making its characters distinguished and fleshed out, but some characters kind of get screwed over because they're not really in the story as much because there's just so many characters. I do think that they do sort of do most of the characters justice, but it's very difficult to deal with a cast that large. I mean, it's not as massive as some other shows like One Piece, but I still say that the cast is pretty big. Overall, I would definitely recommend Dr. Stone. I think it's great, and I think it's probably got something for almost anyone in it. I like that Dr. Stone is more set in reality. There's no, magic. Well, not really. It's mostly just science stuff. I'd probably give it about an 8.5 telescopes out of 10. I thought that it was pretty good. It, of course, had its issues, and some of the endings and reveals, which, of course, I'm not going to spoil, were a little bit iffy. I don't really know how other people other than me felt about that ending. I assume that it probably isn't regarded all that amazingly positively, but I thought it was fine. I don't expect anime or manga endings to be all that. The reason why I don't give it a higher score is because there's a couple of things in Dr. Stone that are really just left up to taste, and it's really just my own personal score, and someone else might have a different score than me. I still really liked it. I'd probably even reread it, which is pretty big compliment from me, considering I am a binge reader and I do not like to reread stuff. I thought it was very, very good. And that's all I have for this video. Bye!